Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. This is Houston Trong from thetradingedge.org, and here is your weekly market outlook for December 30th to January 3rd, 2019. And so we get to the final trading week of the year. In fact, only 2 trading days left in the calendar year, and then we flipped to the brand new year. So this coming week, obviously with the holidays, it's going to be a light trading week. Wednesday is actually New Year's Day, so the markets are closed that day. So you can expect that we're going to see a lot less volume this week, as it is still the holiday season for most traders. So certainly on Tuesday it's a full trading day, Thursday is a full trading day, but most traders will not be back in the trading desks and trading turrets until the following week. So the fireworks, if you want to call them that, probably will not begin until next week. So in next week's video, we'll do a deeper dive into the year that was. We'll talk about some of the bigger macro things that are setting up for 2020. But for this week's video, we're going to stick to our regular weekly review and weekly market outlook and talk about what happened this past week and what to expect for the last couple trading sessions of the year. And then next week's video, as I said already, we'll talk about the bigger themes for 2020. So with that being said, let's talk about the econ calendar. I already mentioned that it's a shortened holiday week. So on Monday, not a lot of news. Neither do we have a lot of news on Tuesday. On Thursday, when things get back into gear of the new year, there is the FOMC minutes, although probably nothing will really change because the narrative is still around the good news around the fact that China and the US have come to a phase 1 agreement. So that's still going to be the biggest thing driving the narrative for the time being. Also jobless claims on that Thursday morning, so watch out for that if you're trading. And then ISM number at 10 o'clock on Friday. So keep your eye open for that. So with that being said, let's launch the charts now and let's talk about what we can expect for the coming week in the final trading week of the year. Let's begin with the VIX. So a bit of an interesting picture here showing up here. Still, the trend is certainly down for the VIX. So we'll start with the big picture as we always do, and then we'll drill down to the lower time frames. But as you can see here, 2 sessions left in the month of December, the year, and we have a red month right now for the VIX, down close to 8%. Slight green week though for the VIX, so that's the slight unusual part. Nothing too spectacular, but we did have a slight green week for the VIX, up plus 1.26%. That could be an easy blip. Now we do have that small green line right there that we drew in, I think last week, and basically actually 2 weeks ago now. That's basically an unfilled gap. So on Friday we did have that move up on the VIX, up 2%, and you can see here now that we're getting close to touching that gap. So that would be an area that I'm expecting to get filled pretty quickly here, and then we may see sellers come right back in again and sell the markets once we get that gap filled. So basically, for the time being, for the coming week of December 30th, here's what you want to be watching, because on the 2-day chart, you had an inside bar that went down, right? So here on the 2-day chart, you can see it, inside bar down, but the bar stepped up here. And then the last 2 sessions of the week, they took it outside bar and up. So essentially, what they did there was they trapped these guys who weren't short, looking to go to all-time lows, and they popped it back up. So now you have a possibility of momentum to the upside. So you want to see the next bar and how that develops, because that unfilled gap is right there. Okay, so it's right there, and we did break above last week's highs. So it did go green week up and go above last week's highs. That's that purple line you see there. See, so these last 2 days of last week here, we did break above, but then it did close below last week's highs. So on the 4-hour chart is what you got now, a bit of momentum. Okay, so here, outside bar and up on the Friday session. So the last 4 hours of the trading day, we had an outside bar up scenario, but it could not stay above the prior week's high. However, there was enough momentum to break above last week's highs. So just watch now and see, do we have continued momentum here, or does that momentum get extinguished as soon as it breaks below that bar's low right there? If it breaks below that bar's low on the 4-hour chart, you come back down again, because you're going to probably break below, right? You're going to come back down the range, and look how tight this range is. Okay, so you see the Bollinger Bands, they're tightening. So this is holiday trading. Not a lot of volatility, even though you have a couple of green hours here, a couple of green bars here. It's still very tight trading. Okay. So on the SPY now, we did have a gap up on the indices that did get faded. So you'll see the same pattern now across all the indices. And on Friday, it was quite bullish in the beginning because it gapped up, but it filled. So let me talk about that in a few moments. So first off, the bigger picture. The month of December is probably going to end green. I'm going to go out on a limb here because we're up 2.75% roughly, and we only have 2 sessions left. Tall order for the bears to come in here now and all of a sudden turn this thing red with only 2 days left or 2 trading sessions left. So probably we're going to continue to have this momentum up condition, right? So here, right, outside bar, up. I call that momentum and up because they're pushing it to the highs and because they're breaking above this outside bar. Momentum move up. Going into January, this is what you want to see for a bigger reversal. If the sellers can break below this bar's low, December's low, that will extinguish the momentum to the upside. This will also, pull it back into this larger broadening formation and pull it back into the range, putting that low in play. We're still far from that, so we're not going to entertain that possibility yet, but that's what you want to be looking for in terms of larger reversals going into January. Right now, don't have to worry about that. Not for this trading week anyways. That's very unlikely. On the weekly chart, green week, not a big week for the SPY, up 0.66%, but everything's going up right now, right? So after we had that big move here, big's relative, but I mean big in terms of the size of the bar relative to the other bars, this is a big buying bar, right? Because as we talked about in previous videos, the sellers had their chance at the beginning of the month of December. They took it down. Buyers bought right back again, creating this momentum hammer. And ever since then, pow to the upside, right? So the coming week, the last 2 trading days of the year, then going into January, the first trading week of January, you want to see if sellers can step up here and break below this week's low. If they can take it below this week's low, then we have the new month on Thursday. That will open up somewhere, wherever it opens up around here. Then if it breaks below there, then you will have, and trades below that area, you'll have a couple of bearish signals there, and that's what you want to be watching for, okay? So on the SPY, we did have this reversal signal showing up on the SPY here. So expect this, we do have some unfilled gaps here in the SPY way down here, right there. I believe we have an unfilled gap right there. I want to draw it in right now. So I want to just take this green line here. It will draw in our unfilled gap right there. I'll turn that to green to make it pleasant on our eyes. Okay, so there's our unfilled gap right there at 321.23 on the SPY. So this Friday, we had that gap up, and this is bearish. So you had the gap up, and as soon as it comes back into the range, there's your reversal signal. Okay, so now the question is, do sellers have enough strength to now come back in here and take out that gap that's unfilled right there, like we saw the mirror opposite in the VIX? So that's what we want to be looking for. Right now, temporarily, the sellers have the momentum. That's the ball is in their court, because on the 4-hour chart, this is what we basically saw. So going into, this is a Tuesday, okay, so this is a bit of a slow week here on the SPY, right? So here, you had it opens up on the Monday, then we have Christmas Eve right there. Christmas is off, obviously. Then you have Christmas, the day after Christmas Day, Boxing Day here in Canada, and here's Friday. Okay, so on Friday they actually gapped it up, right, as I mentioned already, and they sold it off right away in the AM session. Okay, so here you have momentum and up move, momentum up. Once it breaks below there, the momentum gets extinguished, and that's what happened on the second bar here. An earlier signal is this signal here, as I said already. Once you get that gap fill, okay, so that gap fill right there. This is a very important signal to understand, because if they fill the gap right there, what's actually happening intraday is this: the bar opens up here, right? So that's that green line there. That's your daily open. As soon as price gaps up and starts to trade down, immediately this will look like a red candle on the daily chart, right? Evidently. So once it comes down here, okay, so that's your gap fill. So no matter what, intraday, your bias usually has to be short when this condition appears, because it's very hard for the buyers to now turn this day red. So intraday, your best bias is to be short, right? That's your best bias. So intraday, you're going to be short here, but now the longer time frame is that you're still up. So you need to be able to balance those opinions, because although you have a gap fill here, you still are trading, very, very in a very, very strong uptrend. So this 8 period, this little blue line, has been held for a number of sessions here, and we know we did break it back here at the beginning of December, but ever since then, again, we've held that 8 period and we're trending up. So the trend is still up. That's what you want to see now. Can this thing break down, or does it just hold the trend and does it continue higher? Okay, so keep your eye out for that. Now, on to the Qs. Q, same monthly pattern, outside bar up, up, so momentum to the upside. Just like we saw on the SPY, we had that green week here, so up 0.9%. Big reversal would need to take out this week's low, right? So drawing that purple line, that's the level you want to be watching for to see a major or a larger reversal. A major reversal will not happen until you get a monthly low taken out. That's still very, very far away, okay? So we don't have to worry about that right now. So on the Qs, basically the same sort of pattern played out here, but a little more bullish on the Qs, obviously based on the relative gains. But we did have the Friday selling evident here. So here, Monday, Tuesday. So it goes inside bar down on Monday. Looks a bit bearish until they buy it back. And then as soon as you break above that high, that's called an inside bar reversal to the upside. That's what I call it. Inside bar and down, right? So those guys who sold the inside bar think it was going to break down. They get reversed on as soon as that high gets taken out. Inside bar reversal back to the upside, and they get stopped out. Anyone who got short here, thinking, hey, I'm going to get short into the prior, right before Christmas, they got stopped out right there when the market went up 0.88%. Now on Friday, it did gap up, right? And they faded it. So that was a nice fade here, right there to there. Okay, so once it breaks above this, breaks below the prior bar's high, is your bearish bias, and you do have that unfilled gap right there. I'll just draw it in as well, like we did in the SPY. Your unfilled gap is right there. So that is it's a decent target for potentially easy gains if you fade from here to there, because your stop is above that bar's high. Okay, so let's talk about the 2-day chart on the Qs. Essentially now, you're waiting to see if they actually do an inside bar reversal to the downside, short to the downside. So here, inside bar up. If they break below that bar's low here, that's an inside bar reversal to the downside. You can expect this low to get taken out, that bar's pivot. Okay, but still the larger trend is higher. Talk about Russell. Russell's a little different, of course, than the SPYs, Qs, and the Dow, because on the monthly chart it doesn't have that outside bar up pattern. It doesn't go outside bar and up. What it did have here is it has a broadening formation, which is now tapping the high of. Okay, so they took out this bar's high. That was the pivot to go after. They did it. Now it's going into highs. So how can it continue? That's what you want to watch for. This week, unlike the SPY, Dow, and the Qs, it did close red. So on the Russell here, you have a red week down 0.07%. So very, very small red week. And here now is what you want to be watching for coming to the last trading week of the year, first few trading days of calendar year 2020. Is this? Does this low get taken out? Because if it does, this momentum up condition gets extinguished. See, because ever since here, the beginning of December, right, we had that buy. The buyers show up. They went momentum up. Right, so people got short down here, as I explained the pattern already, right? Outside bars are significant because it shows you that the buyers and sellers are getting more, or buyers and sellers are getting more aggressive. The sellers got aggressive, pushing it to the downside, creating new lows or a lower low, right? So a low below the prior bar's low. But then in this case, the buyers get aggressive and push it back to create in order to break above the prior bar's high, so creating a outside bar. Now it goes outside bar up. That's momentum, because anyone who got short down here, who did not go long in this sequence, now they have to chase. So outside bar up, up. Okay. Once this low gets taken out, that momentum will be extinguished. So now you want to watch. Does this week bring us a low lower than last week's low? How did that happen? Well, it's getting close here, right? So here, that purple line is that prior week's low. Look what happened on Friday. So a lot more bearish on the Russell than on the SPYs and the Qs so far, right? There's your same fade, right? So the gap faded, filled it right there, turned to an outside bar. That means there's enough range to take up both sides of the range. Okay, so now does it go momentum bar and down? If it does, that'll break below the prior week's low, and that will create the extinguishing of that momentum on the weekly chart. So that's what you want to be looking for, that kind of domino effect of the daily creating momentum, crushing the momentum on the weekly chart. Okay, so that's what you want to be looking for there on the daily chart. Now, let's talk about Dow. Dow green week, so same momentum pattern we saw already on the SPYs and Qs. Outside bar up, up, trading above that brown information. So lots of momentum there going into those all-time highs, right? Look at those all-time highs for the Dow. Very, very strong stuff. Now, on the weekly chart, small green week, okay? And there's your low painted in, okay? So 0.66% up for the week, just like we talked about for the other indices. Can you now break below the prior week's low? That's all the way down here. So it has a lot more work to do on the Dow in order to break below the prior week's low. All right. So on the 4-hour chart, it looks something like this. Okay, so it started its move already on Friday. So here, inside, outside, and up. There's your momentum up, up, up. It did break below that bar's low here on Friday. So this multi-session momentum move has been extinguished. The question is now, can the seller step up and break it down? Because that's the weekly low, the prior week's low. If you want to see if that guy gets taken out or not. Okay. Let's talk about the TSX. Last week I gave a quick something to note. That is the large volume that came into to the TSX on last Friday's session. And this week we did have a small green week, but something definitely continue to watch, because we do have, closing out. You're probably closing out the month green, so you're up 0.75%. Green month so far for TSX. Basically, it's a continuation of this signal. Inside bar up, up, right, on the TSX. So, green week, very small green week, 0.29%, grindy stuff. And then here now on the TSX, this is what you want to be looking for, is that sequence here. Outside bar and up, right? So there's your momentum, but it's a red bar, so they faded it as well. Look, they opened it right here at the high of this broad information. Okay, so they took it in. Now, if they break below Friday's low, immediately they're going after that pivot there. Okay, and that means that will trigger that weekly low that we talked about just a few moments ago. Okay, so remember, last Friday I said this is a warning. This is something you need to watch for, because we had this increased volume here on the 20th of December. Big volume day here. Possible profit taking here by some folks this day, because this week here we only had 3 sessions. It was, we already saw that it did not move that much. In fact, people took more profits here on Friday. So this is here you're going to need to watch out for, because this is legitimate. This is a legitimate reversal signal for bricks below there. Because what's going to happen next week is that you're going to have a new weekly open. The week's going to open somewhere around here, okay, wherever it opens up. If you break below there, right, that will cause a reversal signal here. Then on Thursday, when you have the new month, let's say it opens up around here somewhere. If you trade below that, now you're going to be trading below the weekly open and the monthly open. So now you have 2 time frames that are red. Then coming into the new quarter, you're going to get the same thing. You're going to be trading below the quarterly open as well, right? Same thing on that new quarterly open. Then you really have to watch out if you're trading below all 3 time frames, quarterly open, monthly open, weekly open, and you have all the time frames to the downside. Then you have to watch out for a bigger reversal, right? Because the weekly is very, very close. And the monthly, we saw right there, it's not that far away. So I'm going to draw the monthly in right now just so you can see it and visualize it. I'm going to do that in orange. Okay, so we'll paint that in. And we can see here now, let's go back on our daily chart. There. So it has to come through all the way down through this range here in order for that to really trigger. So you still have a bit of, it still requires a lot of selling in order for the monthly to turn to, or in order for the monthly to break the monthly's prior low, right? But here on the weekly chart, you can see if you break below there, they're going to go after that pivot. If they really get aggressive, they'll go after that and then that pivot. So that's what you want to be seeing in terms of dominoes, is to see how they come back through the range. Because here you can see that you're riding this broad information, right? It's going riding right here. You're finding a bit of resistance right now. If you pop above it, then all bets are off, and you can just grind higher. So let's take a bit of time now, and I want to show you something a little bit different. And this is something I have not updated you in a while. But let's take a look at going back to the SPY for a sec, because I think it's an interesting phenomenon. And people are looking for reversals, right? They're thinking that the SPY is looking very toppy, and this trend is getting long on the tooth. So I want to just give you a bit of perspective here, because, let me see here. Yeah, so let's talk about this. So let's look at the monthly chart on the SPY for a second. Okay, so here we're going right into highs now, right? We're going right into highs, and the question is how far and how long does it go for? As I mentioned already, you're not going to get a large reversal signal until you break below the prior, or this month, so once we get into January, the prior month's low. So that low right there, right? So I'm going to draw it in now. So you're not going to get a major reversal until that low gets taken out. Okay, so right now, even though things are things are trending upwards, you have to remember this is actually a momentum condition. It's outside bar up up. How far can these things go? They can go very, very far. Okay, so look at this situation here. You have October, we had that outside bar, and it's gone 2 months in a row momentum. Now dial it back here. Look, we go all the way back in time now to November of 2016. Okay, so here, look at this situation. I'm going to zoom into this now so you lose the history. This at that time was all-time highs, November of 2016. Look, and this looked peaky at that time. You could say, wow, we're hitting all-time highs, outside bar. How far can it go? December, wow, looks like a shooting star. All right, going into the brand new year, maybe the markets are going to correct in January. Really? Are they really going to correct? Nope, that's February. That's March. What a March. Look at that March. Up close to 4% in this is February 2017, not March. February. Here's March. Okay, red month now. Now it's bearish, right? Is that going to be bearish now? Inside bar for April 2017. Now it's going to break down. Is it? No, that's the next leg higher. Look. You see what I mean? So this could easily be the situation we're in now, where we're going outside bar up and up. The momentum does not get extinguished until you get a prior low get taken out. It doesn't have to be complicated, folks. Look, you do not have a lower low until when? Here, February of 2018, when you had the VIX explosion, when VXX had the Armageddon, and basically that contract got destroyed, and the volatility sellers got smashed. That's what finally caused the momentum to subside, because don't forget, January of 2018 was a huge month, up 5.6% in that month alone. But it started here, November 2016, right? It rode all year, right? It was over a year-long rally. So am I saying it's going to happen again this year? No, I'm not. But I'm saying just follow price, right? You don't have to try to predict how long it's going to go, because it could be something like this. It could easily be this situation goes outside bar up, and then finally breaks down here, right? Momentum dies there, and you have only a 2 or 3 bar pullback. Then it goes higher again. Doesn't mean it's going to have to turn back and and crash. It could just mean a multi-month pullback, which is not even significant. This is a minus 0.5%. This is minus 1.73%, and then finally get an outside bar that brings the things back to the upside again. So think about that bigger historical context as you're trading, so that you don't get lost in the trees, because the forest shows you a pretty good picture if you're just willing to concede to the price action. Okay, so now momentum up. Now you see the significance of that. You're just looking for the low to get taken out. That's it. That's all you can do, is properly respond to price and pay attention to what price is doing. Don't try to call tops and call bottoms. You don't need to do that. So that was one perspective in terms of the price action. Here's another perspective. I want to share with you multiple perspectives here. And the next one is this chart that I show on occasion. And here's the SPY overlay with the blue line. The blue line is the number of S&P 100 stocks currently trading above their 50-day moving average. So right now things are very, very bullish, right? And so here's this blue line. Currently about 89% of S&P 100 stocks are trading above their 50-day. So very, very bullish. We have a lot of breadth accompanying this rally. We have full participation pretty much by all those stocks in the S&P 100. Now, it's always interesting to see other periods to see how bullish things can get. So this is at 89% right now. The prior high we had was back here, 86%. So that was last July in 2019. If you want to see another high reading, if you want to see it in the 90s, back here. Right there. February, going into the new year. So see here. So here's the brand new year, 2019. That's a zip back here so you have a bit of context. So here's your January, folks. All right, so here's your January, coming back up. Remember, we had that huge crash, and not huge, but we had that big correction back in 2018. Then we had that big rally that took us to close to all those all-time highs once again. And here, in February, we got up to 91%, 92% participation. Number of stocks above the 50-period moving average. So that's back in February. So it's not uncommon for the indices to get to places where you have over 90% of the stocks above the 50-day moving average. Now you want to watch that because see, eventually you have this divergence where you have higher highs happening, but then you have fewer stocks participating, and then you have this that sets up this pullback here, right? You can clearly see that as you're making new highs here, this is a new high above that period's high here. These are all-time highs. Fewer stocks actually above their 50-day moving average, and then you have that pullback. So that's the same thing you want to be watching for this time around, but right now you're not getting that divergence yet. Right now, so right now things are going to highs. You need to see a pullback, and you want to see a new set of highs or very close to that area and see how many stocks are still participating. Let's go back a little bit more in history. If you want to go back here, that's a 90% reading up here, right? Now here's the next one, right here. So that's that prior period I talked about before already. We had that huge run up going to Jan of 2018. Then February, things kind of fell apart right there, right? So back here, we had a reading of 93%. So you had a broad participation. Then all of a sudden, things just ripped to the downside. So the markets can certainly run for a while. And here's another high reading here in the 90 percentile range, again in January. So this is not uncommon. So here, I'll just zoom in here. Here's January 2017. You had I'll call it 90% of stocks above the 50-day. It continued to go higher. So look at this sequence here. Okay, so here's your January 2017. Okay, so runs up 90%, and then you had a bit of a pullback here, but then it creates higher highs, fewer stocks participating. That sets up a bit of a pullback here. Okay, so that's what you want to be waiting for, using this kind of a breadth measure to accompany your price action to analysis to give you that really wide context. But right now, the shorts, you're not setting up. You do not want to be getting aggressive right now because the markets are, the underlying breadth is not telling you to get aggressively short. Okay, all right. So that's the analysis for the underlying markets, underlying breadth measures. We talked about the momentum conditions on the SPY. Let's go back now and let's talk about the emerging markets. So EM for a second. And EM, strong month. So this was really the canary in the coal mine. It looked bad in December. I talked about it, the past few videos already. But as soon as it went outside bar and started coming back up, there was a potential for the outside bar to the upside. And people were already pricing in the fact. I believe that people were already pricing the fact that we're going to get that first phase agreement done between China and U.S. because EM had been rallying for some time. It had bottomed earlier than some of the other indices, and it turned to an outside month to the upside. So momentum moving up. Now you want to see in January, there's momentum moving up, inside, or down. Watch for that. Okay, this week momentum continued, inside week and up. So solid 1% move on EM this past week, inside week and up. You just want to see now. Like remember last week I said how we break this range. We broke to the upside. Now you just want to watch and see you get an inside bar reversal to the downside or not, because that would be significant. If you can go inside bar and down, you put this thing back into the range again. Okay, but for now, trend is up. And finally, on the 2-day chart, on the daily chart, here's a nice short. So actually, I want to just quickly show you one of my a nice setup here. I'm going to put the lines back into play here. So this purple line right here, that's the prior week's high. Okay, so 44.67. So look what they did on Monday. On Monday, the high was 44.67. That's the prior week's high. So they could not crack the prior week's high on Monday. On Tuesday, it's a pullback. Classic pullback. Basically, anyone who's trying to buy this breakout, they're now underwater for 1 day. People get scared out, they're weak longs, and they close out the positions. Then they gap up on Wednesday. Oh, sorry, this is a Thursday because we had Wednesday was Christmas. Anyone who missed that trade, right? They closed their position here. They wanted to get long, but they got scared out. Now they have to make a decision. Do you chase, yes or no? In this case, they had to chase if they had to get back in the trade because it was a gap up, and that goes up 0.72%. And anyone who got short here also has to chase and and try to get a smaller loss. And that's a classic move there, right? So once it goes out, it goes, taps the high, goes down, because as soon as it breaks above this high, they're immediately going after that pivot. What's that pivot? That's the prior week's high, right? So as soon as that prior week's high gets taken out, boom, you have that inside week up condition. We know that right there. That creates the inside week up condition. So that's the domino effect that we talk about often in these videos, is they're using the lower time frames to try to trigger the higher time frames. Okay, so that's that quick lesson price action wise. We'll draw our lines back into the chart, and I will move on to TLT. So bonds now. Bonds pretty much end the month essentially in a very tight range. So down 0.21%, but been trading in a tight range for the past couple of weeks. Red month, although we had a higher high there. Okay, tight stuff this past week, right? So tight Christmas trading, inside week right now for the TLT. So for the coming week here, we want to be watching how this inside week breaks. Okay, so we're watching that range, because right now it's outside week down, down, down. That's momentum, right? So until you get a high get taken out, the momentum is to the downside. However, this high gets taken out, we talked about it already, that momentum will get extinguished. Okay, so continue to watch that. So far here, on the weekly chart, we saw momentum to the downside, but on the daily chart, you see, it's outside day, up, up. So if they break it back below there, again, it can come back to the range again and trigger that outside, that inside week to the downside on TLT. But for now, it breaks to the upside on Monday, right? That would extinguish that momentum to the upside, the downside, excuse me, on the weekly chart. GLD had a fine week, had a very, very shiny week for GLD. And although the month is nearly done, we're still inside month. So a good job by the bulls to buy back GLD, because it had been a red month for a lot of that time. Now here, with only a couple of days left, we're still inside month, but up 3.2%. So decent month for GLD for the month of December. Good, nice move here. We talked about last week. It was inside week last week. We were looking to see how this inside week breaks, just like we saw TLT this in the last chart. This week we're looking, okay, how does GLD break, to the upside or the downside? It doesn't have to be that hard. And it broke on Tuesday. Okay, so here, excuse me, on Monday. So on Monday, so that's your prior Friday. On Monday, they immediately break the inside day, which also triggers the inside week. So there's your double break, right? So this day here, Monday, gaps up, a small gap up. Let's see, the open here is 139.53, close, yep. So basically a 1 penny up gap, very, very small gap up. That causes the inside bar to break on the upside on the day, as well as the weekly, and that's momentum, right? Because you have inside week up and inside day up, so momentum move up, and bam, 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 you have a nice 4-day bullish move to the upside. Okay, so that's the move on GLD. Now just watch it. Now you want to see, as the month closes, how do you break above this prior? If it remains this way, it's an inside month. It gets interesting if it goes inside month and up, because then you have a real bullish move potentially going back up to those highs that we had back in September. Bitcoin's near the 6-month lows, but exhibiting a bit more bullish behavior the past few sessions. So the big picture on BTC, I'm just going to pull back here and pull up the right chart. Let's pull up the BitPhoenix chart. Okay, so here's the big picture on BTC, and why I've been short for most of the quarter is this situation here, inside quarter and down, right? So you're still trading below the prior quarter's lows, so your bias is to the downside. All rallies have been successfully sold this quarter. So now on the monthly chart, it goes inside month and down, 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 right? So just understanding that inside month and down, right? once it goes below there, do you think it's been easier to sell or to buy? Yeah, to sell, right? It goes inside month and down, no higher highs. Every rally has been sold so far. So you're way better off having a short bias than having a long bias. Okay, so this month we did have a lower low, but the buyers bought it back now. We're back into the prior month's range. On the weekly chart, this week, we started off strong, kind of faded a bit. It's getting a little stronger again. We did break above the prior week's high. So it's been a while. It took, 1, 2, 3. Well, look, we haven't had a week that had a higher high since there. October, the week of October the 14th, the week after that, we had that outside bar that broke above the prior week's high. Actually, this week, same thing right there, right? Then when it went inside week. So here, we didn't have another high. We hadn't had a high since, back here, right? So now, this week had a high, did break above that range, but it's still trading, it's still a red week. It's still down 0.233% and still trading below the monthly open. So the buyers still have a lot of work to do in order for this thing to turn very, very bullish. But we do have the new week, the new month, and the new year right around the corner, and that's what you want to be waiting for, because all this stuff will flip around, right? So that's what you really want to be seeing here is once you have the new month, the new year, the new week, you want to see how time trades around or price trades around those major opens. Okay, so right now just let the price lead. So Ethereum, same thing. So I'll show one more crypto chart here. Ethereum USD. Same situation. So 3-month chart, exactly the same thing. Inside quarter and down, right? Spent most of the quarter below the prior quarter's low. Inside month and down. The bias has been to the downside. Still trading below the prior month's range. And here, Ethereum is one of the weakest ones. This is one of the weaker cryptos. So here it goes inside week, down, and this week has not taken out the prior week's high yet. So right now it's an inside week, very tight trading, the Christmas trading week. So now you want to see coming this week, coming into this month, coming this year, how do you break this inside week condition to the downside, or do you somehow pop up and get it, and try to get back into the range here? But for now, you want to just basically see how that week breaks. Okay. Now let's wrap things up by just basically going through a few charts in rapid succession, rapid fire. We'll begin with one chart which I think kind of tells the picture of how strong this bull market is, and that's Apple. So look at Apple, right? So Apple hit all-time highs on Friday, and does that look like a chart that's going to reverse anytime soon? Right? So right now, Apple, outside week, up, just like we talked about on the indices. It's that kind of momentum condition. In order for that momentum to be extinguished, as we know already, this week's low needs to get taken out. So that's what you want to be looking for is, can you break below the low here of 280.37? 280.37 right there. That will be what's required to extinguish that momentum move on Apple. But right now, look how strong that is. It's a momentum to the upside. Just watch the momentum condition. Okay. Let's talk about a few other weekly charts that are of interest. Here's one that's setting up. This has been on the watch list a little while now. Play, outside, inside. I brought this to our attention last week. Outside, inside, and up. It's working its way now. It did take out that high, 41.64, 41.68. Yeah, so it did its job. It already took out that pivot's high. But what that's interesting is this, because we have a new month coming up, and boom, right there. I'll just draw it in. If we can break above this month's high in this January, so if we can break above December's high, then we have an inside bar reversal that can then go after these pivots there. So that will make it more interesting as we have more range to go after for the play chart. Okay, so right there, there's your monthly open right there, right? So they're getting very close now to taking up this week's high, and then you're gonna come back and potentially go after these ranges. Next one, Procter & Gamble, very, very strong chart. Outside, inside, going right into highs, looking very strong. Makes it even stronger is this. Here, outside month, outside, inside, and up on December. So a nice strong chart there for PG, Procter. Another weekly chart. Oops, wrong one there. Let's go to Ameren. So this name hasn't been in play for a few weeks, but potentially setting up here now. Outside, inside, right on the monthly open right there. So if that breaks back above here, we can potentially see this thing go back up to the range. Wix, this thing has been chopping up a lot of people, but now it's getting interesting because this is what you want to see. When you see this many outside bars, people are getting chopped in every which way. Once this thing takes off in the right direction, then the shorts or the buyers, whichever side you're on, if you're in the wrong way, you're gonna have to cover because this thing will move aggressively because the bars, the price action is telling you people are getting aggressive, right? Outside bar, outside bar, outside bar, and people are getting stopped out on both sides. So once the move finally happens, one side's gonna have to decidedly cover or get long in order to participate in this ride, because the monthly chart is setting up very, very nicely. Monthly chart right here, look, inside bar and up, it fails, turns an inside bar, reversal to the downside. This thing is failing too now, right? Sitting right at the quarterly open. If the buyers can break above this month's highs in next week, then that puts this back into play, right? So outside wick right here, if it breaks above here, going after that pivot right away. So that's going to be an interesting one to watch and keep on your watch list. USAT, another nice outside inside pattern on the week. Outside inside, tight stuff, right? So this stuff here, once it breaks, this will move. So you want to see how this thing breaks. Look at this, inside, inside, inside. This is a monthly chart. So 3 months of consolidation. This thing will pop, and it will be an interesting thing to watch. Okay, there's your USAT. Dollar General setting up for some move, perhaps. Inside, outside, inside. So lots of consolidation there. People getting chopped up as well by that outside bar. Now you want to see how the inside breaks, because right now you're trading below the monthly quarterly open. We have the brand new one setting up next week, so this is what's going to make it interesting. Because on the monthly chart, boom, whoops, I went back here again to Macy's. On the monthly chart on Dollar General, you have this situation here, a bit of a hammer being formed on the monthly chart. So once again, if you can break above that prior monthly's high, right there, outside, inside, up, that will basically cause a reversal signal on the monthly chart. One more weekly chart before we look at some hot stocks and some not so hot stocks. XHB, so the ETF for home builders, setting up a potential inside bar reversal. So if we can break above this week's high right there, so I'm going to just draw that in purple. Okay, that would create an inside bar reversal to the upside. What makes that more interesting? So you layer that on with this chart here, the monthly chart. If we can break above that high, we'll make that orange. That will make it a monthly reversal. So now when you put things in context, you look at that weekly chart, you break above that high, they're going to go after that pivot. That will trigger the monthly reversal. Okay, so all they got to do now is buyers to step up here, break above 45.96. That will cause people to have to cover there by going after these pivots, and then causing the monthly chart to then turn green. Okay, so that's what we want to be looking for. The monthly chart to reverse. All right, so let's now do a fast fire finale here. Finale. Let's look at some of the best and worst stocks based upon a modified Sharpe ratio for the past few weeks. So let's start with the dogs first. Let's go OSTK. This one here I've been talking about for a while. What a dog. Where is the low for OSTK? OSTK having a terrible year right now. Again, someone in that company is going to have to figure out, are they a crypto company? Are they a retailer? What are you doing? Because no one knows right now, and the stock's suffering and lagging behind. Why? So this Chinese ADR name, not doing well. So you can see from the last month or so, you know, it's been just bleeding. Tilray, speaking of bleeding, the marijuana stocks have been leading the way to the downside here. And fortunately for Tilray, it looks like they're going to end the year at all-time lows. So look at the all-time lows prior there, and now Tilray well below those all-time lows, getting really, really crushed. Don't forget, this thing, you know, earlier in the year was trading in the 90s, right? It's talking last January, was trading in the 90s, 100 even. Now we're trading at 16. So what a fall from those prior highs. Another marijuana name doing a terrible job, NBEV. So this thing here, again, man, I'm just going to pull back a bit here. Not quite all-time lows, but certainly multi-year lows for NBEV. Okay, now let's take a look at one more dog here, PSX, interestingly. So Phillips, multi-week move to the downside now. So this thing is having momentum to the downside, and it's trending nicely to the downside on Phillips. Okay, now some stars. Let's take a look at some of the stronger names. So solar names looking very strong. CSIQ, man, since the since it bottomed here in November, straight up. Look at that smooth line, and that's what I'm talking about by using a modified Sharpe ratio. We're looking for stocks that are moving efficiently, either up or down. So CSIQ moving very smoothly. JKS, another solar name, another massive move since mid-November. Very nice. Moved from basically 15, 16 bucks all the way to 23 here. EA, Electronic Arts, okay, getting to the multi-year highs. Okay, or it looks like actually, yeah, getting close to it. Yeah, did it break above? Yes, it did. So actually, did it do it? 108.80, nearly did, not quite yet. So getting, it did it. Yes, it did. 108.92 up here. So it did create a new high for the year, albeit not that easy to get into this trade until the last few weeks, because this has been a very tight trading stock. You can see that's a weekly chart. Look at the monthly chart. Look how tight that is. And now you can see it's basing. This has been basing, and finally it's breaking out here now. So look at the 3-month chart. I'm going to actually switch charts here. Excuse me. It's hard to see on that particular perspective. Look at this chart. Okay, now do you see why it's so tight? Because it did 1, 2 inside quarters. It went inside quarter and down, turned into an inside bar reversal to the upside. So immediately, talked about this pattern already, right? Once you take out that high, they're going after that high and that high. That high there was 108.80. We talked about it already. This is 108.92. So they did it, right? So they did that. They took out that high there. Question is now, do you come back up here or not? So very nice chart there on EA. Multi-quarter consolidation finally breaking out. We talked about JK Steel already. Here's another one. BABA, which is part of EM. All right, look at the smooth chart here. And why this thing bottomed early. I think BABA, people figured out they were not going to get affected by the tariff, by any kind of tariffs and trade wars, and BABA has been rallying since. It bottomed out here in early October, and it's been on a tear since, from 162 area to 218 area. So really rallying. J&J, slower mover, but nice smooth chart to the upside. I think J&J also bottomed in mid-October. And the last one, another bio stock, Amgen, biotech name. A bit of a red week this past week, but very nice smooth run since bottoming out in early October. Well, that's it for this week's video. As always, I want to thank you for spending time with me this week. I hope you found use out of these videos. If you do, please give the video a big thumbs up. If you want to share that with this video with your friends and colleagues, that'll help us find more eyes and ears for our content. And finally, if you really do like the videos, then please subscribe to our YouTube page so that you get notified when the videos come out. And I just want to say Happy New Year to everyone out there. I hope you had a great trading year. I promise next year is going to be even a better year. There's going to be a lot of good trends and opportunities going into 2020. So I wish you and yours the best in 2020. And as always, if there's any questions you may have, feel free to drop them in the YouTube channel or on our comment section on our blog, and I'll be happy to answer them in those platforms. So have a great trading week, have a great trading end of trading year, and we'll see you in 2020. All the best.